CRM was supposed to improve customer relationships. Instead, it's shorthand for can't resolve much. Which means you may have sunk a fortune into software that just bounces customer issues around but never actually solves them. On the ServiceNow AI platform, CRM stands for something better. With AI built into one platform, customers aren't mired in endless loops of automated indifference. They get what they need, when they need it. Bad CRM was then. This is ServiceNow.
In my third year, I realized that there was like this one class, it's called like Econometrics 3.0 whatever. And you know that moment when you're like looking around the classroom and you're like, it's not that I'm not studying, but like everybody else is getting this. I'm working wicked hard.
Yeah.
Like I'm like just not. And like these are the same murderers that like in a year and a half's time, I'm going to have to try to compete with for jobs. Yes. Like maybe this ain't for me.
Hey, this is William Tincup and Ryan Leary. You are listening and hopefully watching the Inside the C-Suite podcast. We got Jon Lowe from DailyPay on today with us, and we've had a wonderful pre-show. Probably one of the funniest pre-shows we've ever had. So
probably better than the episode to come.
Oh, 100%. We should have quartered that. Yeah. So let's do some introductions. Jon, would you do us a favor and the audience a favor and introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Jon Lowe. I support the HR program here at DailyPay. Technically, my title is CPO, but I'm a doer of many things around here. We operate within the earned wage access space. We've got a really great team. There's about 850 of us. We sit mostly in New York, but we're kind of all over America at this point.
Right. You're global pay too, right? You can do global, or is it still in the four walls of the U.S.?
We're mostly in the U.S. We have like a small footprint in Canada. We're starting into the U.K., but I would say that we're predominantly U.S. focused right now.
And CPO, Chief People Officer, yeah.
CPO. I will say that there's an element of like confusion on ADP. It says I'm a CHRO. I would say that 95% of the time you can call me John. Hey there. We're pretty.
Got a quick question. Yeah.
My in-laws call me asshole, so that's cool.
Yeah.
I'll respond to anything. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah. Is there really a difference though between CPO, Chief People Officer, and CHRO?
I don't know. I think that there's been kind of like an evolution of the titling. I would actually say that there's like a pretty sizable evolution of the function.
Right.
You think back over like the last 10, 15 years that CHRO, I would say that Chief People Officer is probably akin to Chief Personnel Officer, which is probably more likely what we were, as recently as, 15, 20 years ago. So again, I think that out of all of the discipline areas, we probably feel a little bit confused about what it is we call ourselves and what it is that we do as a byproduct of the evolution that continues to happen within the space.
Yeah. So, well, it's an identity crisis to people that are outside of HR, but really what's going on is HR both is evolving, but it's bringing on new things and letting go of things. So things that were important 10 years ago, projects and programs and things like that aren't as important. You have a new emphasis. Someone was asking me first week of January, is like, what, and they were a CPO, and they were like, what do you think that we should be, that everyone else is focusing on? 5 things that people are focusing on. I'm like, here's the 5 things, not a problem. But everyone's got, they're at different starting points. Yeah. So if it's DEI and that's important to you, great. Or if it's AI training, everyone's at a different place, so it doesn't really matter. You've got to kind of do the audit of what matters to the company, and then redo your entire plan to then be adjacent or at least congruent with whatever's important to the company.
Yeah. No, it's funny. Like if you think about all the other C-suite functions that are out there, finance, legal, technology.
They don't change much.
They really don't. Like, financial years, audit, tax, internal controls, treasury, relations, like those are bona fides for those functions. And so I do think that, like, it's an interesting thing that you guys picked up on, which is it CPO, CHRO? What is it that you're focused in on? again, like what it is that we're focused in on this year might be very different the next year. And it's one of these things that I would say is like inherently interesting about the space because of the fact that it's so varying, it's so evolving. I don't think that, who knows, in 20 years, maybe we'll have a settled definition of what it is that like sits within the scope. But as it stands right now, it is still very transient.
It's interesting because what you've just, with the story you just told makes me think of the personalities that thrive in sales, in accounting, in finance, where year in and year out, there's a cadence. Whereas in HR,
It's very different.
there are some things that have a cadence to them, but most of it is firefighting, because at any given point, a sexual harassment claim could land on your desk. And it's like, well, I was doing this other project. now it looks like I've got to do this project, or not just those things, but anything could drop on your desk.
It's the human nature of people.
Yeah.
I mean, with finance and accounting, John, to your point,
Ones and zeros.
same thing, right? Rules change, laws change, so you adapt to that, but your job is the same.
Right.
I think what we're seeing now more than ever is, I mean, obviously with the way people have changed and employment has changed, relationship between employer and employee has changed. Your job, as specifically in your role,
right.
I mean, is changing daily. It's
Daily-
changing all the time.
Daily
Well,
change?
Yeah,
Nice.
Nice. No pun intended. there.
Hashtag daily
No, I
change.
paused after I said it. I'm like, yeah, that was cheesy, but I didn't really mean it that way.
Well, that is one of the company references for the purposes of that.
Yeah.
It's really interesting because when you think about the changing landscape, the tax code does change, but it's like at a glacial speed. Imagine a scenario where you had a tax code, but it's broken down on a state-by-state basis with like different municipalities that have different rules. Like New York City, Boulder, Colorado, the entire state of California, Seattle versus like a Texas, Arkansas, Mississippi, Missouri. Like it's wild. And, again, I think that there's just this very wide oscillation that takes place.
Right.
The vast majority of organizations, human capital and people represent probably either their number one cost, if not their second cost. So when you really think about that idea of how close to, company earnings, company performance people are, it's very much day by day. We live and die based off of how the economy is going. And so, again, being able to foresee what's coming down. And then you spatter into that like complaints, sexual harassment, workforce restructuring,
but safety. What?
Any number of things, but like we are so exposed to elements that are well outside of our control. So every day's different, every year's different.
Which is exciting for some personalities. For some personalities, they thrive in that because it's like, I don't have the same day twice. Whereas you talk to a CRO, and it's like they have the same day twice. They're marching sales to a quarter goal or past the quota, whatever it is. So they have a cadence to what they do. Whereas that personality probably wouldn't thrive in HR, and HR leaders probably wouldn't thrive in that environment. Because change is addicting. We don't talk about it like that. But once you do it, and you get it, you find yourself every day fighting some different fire or working on some type of different project. It's like that's actually addicting for some folks because they like it. So, Ryan, you want to go backwards?
I was just going to say, as riveting as HR conversations are, I really want to learn about John's background. I mean, he got a huge personality. I'm just thinking there's going to be some funny stories in here.
Let's do it.
Let's do it, man. Let's go back.
All right, so high school. Let's go back to high school. What did you want to do? What did you want to be when you were in high school?
Yeah, so I grew up in Toronto. I grew up in Canada. Went to a high school just outside of I guess it's technically in Toronto, just barely.
So you want to be Wayne Gretzky? Got it. Check.
Yeah. Trust me, you can't tell how tall I am, but like hockey and sports, like that was pulled off the table real early. That wasn't going to be it. I think that like some people in high school had like a very clear view of what they wanted to do: doctors, lawyers, engineers, whatever it was. I had absolutely no idea. I had like coming out of high school, I had two key objectives. One of them was to get into college, and the other one was to make sure that college was not in Toronto.
Yeah,
So
100%.
get the heck out of my parents' basement. And so I would say that out of most, as opposed to most of my classmates, I was the most lost.
Were you voted most lost in the yearbook? Is that what you're telling us?
I don't know. I've disposed of that thing many years ago.
100%.
It was funny. I was thinking through and I was like, there's things that I'm generally good at. I thought I was going to become an economist. I had like an aptitude for business. Like I wasn't a killer in anything. I was like mediocre at accounting. I couldn't figure out debits versus credits. Like it wasn't really all that. Like I wasn't anyone's first pick.
Right. Dodgeball.
Yeah. Like,
all right, I guess
you are describing my life right now.
All right, I guess we'll take John. Fuck it. All right, go ahead.
It sounds self-deprecating, but I really wasn't very talented.
You know what? It doesn't matter. That's the journey. Like everyone starts at a different place. And those that did start, they knew exactly what they wanted to do. They went to Harvard, and they plotted their career, only to find out, hey, wait a minute. There's a pivot in there that I get to a point 10 years into my career, go, I hate this shit. I hate it. So then they have to reassess, which is not easy, especially if you've been thinking about a certain goal for 20 years of your life. So I think it's one of those deals. In fact, I have a 19-year-old, and I was telling him and my 15-year-old the same story. I told him my career, and I said, I've changed directions in my career at least 20 times. And they were both shocked. They're like, really? I'm like, oh yeah. I would go this direction only to find out, yep, hate that. Okay, go this direction. And they're like, we just thought that this is what you've been doing all your life. I'm like, no.
Well, considering you've been working for about 23 years, that's a lot of changes.
That is it. I'm actually a millennial. I'm Gen Z. Way before that came along. So what'd you do as college? Where did you go? You ended up getting out of Toronto, I'm assuming.
Hey there, I'm Tim Boris, host of the Working Well podcast, where business strategy meets human sustainability. If you're an executive, a leader, or change maker ready to ditch burnout, build thriving teams, and drive real results, this is your next must listen. Tune in on the Work Defined Network or at timboris.com/podcast.
Yeah, I went to a school just outside of Toronto. It was called Queen's. I think one of the things that really shaped me as part of that process was that my parents were immigrants to Canada, and so there are a very limited number. Like if you have any Asian friends, you can ask them. Oh yeah. Very limited number of people.
Doctor, lawyer, that's it. It's one of those three pages.
Exactly it. So they're just like, hey, you're going to become an accountant, you're going to become an engineer, you're going to become a dentist.
Good point. That's it.
Or you're going to become a lawyer, right?
And all of a sudden you say, I want to do poetry. What?
Yeah. Well, I'll get to how disappointed they are.
That's in the next 30 seconds.
We'll get there.
Yeah. Do you have brothers and sisters?
I do.
Okay. So did they make the traditional picks?
He's just a better human than I. It's funny, normally your parents try to go and mask,
yes.
Oh, we love you both equally, and you both have your own.
No. He's actually really good at stuff.
He's taller, he's better looking, he's more successful, he stayed in accounting, he's got beautiful children. I strive to be more like my younger brother. So I grew up with a bit of a complex. I still have a healthy amount of that complex. So.
Yes.
Anyways,
that's fair.
So I went to university, also known as college. Still was along that line of don't really know what I want to go and do. I did some sociology, did some economics. And it's funny, one of the pivotal moments that I had, which I think, again, one of the things that you'll see through all of this is that
you don't technically need this car. You say that out loud to yourself. You say, I have no space. You say, I'm just looking. Then you click. Then you zoom in on photo number 87 and whisper, oh no. Then you text a friend, the one who always enables you. You say to yourself, this is the last one, knowing it is not. You don't need this car. But maybe, just maybe, this car needs you. Bring a trailer. It's never just a car.
That dude is wicked lucky. Because there's so many things I could have gone off the rails. In my third year, I realized that there was like this one class, it's called like Econometrics 3.0 whatever. And you know that moment when you're like looking around the classroom and you're like, it's not that I'm not studying, but like everybody else is getting this. I'm working wicked hard.
Yeah.
Like I'm like just not. And like these are the same murderers that like in a year and a half's time I'm gonna have to try to compete with for jobs.
Yes.
Like maybe this ain't for me.
This door is now shut.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like, you know, it's like being a ballerina, but like just not being able to jump high and just like it. I was not talented within that area.
Yeah.
And whilst I think that I liked it, I just wasn't good.
Right.
And I remember it like vividly. I was just like, there was like this one moment I was like, okay, where do I sit in this class? Like honestly, right? And it was like definitely not top quartile. I don't think I'm even top half. I don't think I'm like. I think I'm in the bottom quartile of this class right now. Like
Self-awareness, though. Like
That's how I tell.
knew.
Okay, that's how I tell people when I graduated high school. I'm like, I graduated, fourth in my class.
whoa.
And people are like, and it was 800.
There was only
students.
6 people.
No, it was 800 students in the high school, seniors, and they're like, man, that's dope. That's great. I'm at fourth from the bottom. That's
Yeah,
was
from
really-
the bottom.
That's
Nice.
that
What it was
tracks.
like to be homeschooled, but that was just
Yeah, yeah. Well, what I think is so, John. What I think is interesting about that is, I was in the same situation. I went about 4 years in comp sci and was like, yeah, I'm done. Like, I'm not going to be these guys. Like, and I knew that, but there was no real resources. We're probably all about the same, right? And there's no resources for me to look at, right? We didn't have social like it is today to look at these guys and say it's okay to fail. I was told, you're going here, you're doing this, and
Get your
that's what it
degree.
is. Yeah, yeah. So that's a scary spot, though. How you know what you're talking about.
So I was lucky because I worked for almost 5 years before I went to college. It's from high school to college. And my career advisor, after I registered, and you sit down, back then you'd sit down with a career advisor, and they're like, she goes, listen, here's the deal. 1 in 4 people work in their major. So the current statistic is 3/4 of those are working in something else. You get a degree in physics, you have a 1 in 4 chance of actually working in physics. So make it easy on yourself. You're an older student. You're probably going to be a little bit more disciplined than some of the younger students. What do you like? I said, well, I'm an artist. She goes, great, do art. Do art or art history or something around art. It'll be easy for you, and don't worry about what you do after graduation because it doesn't matter. So I'm like, all right, cool. Went over to the art department, talked to scheduled time, talked to the chair, and he's like, man, show me your portfolio. I'm like, all right. Showed him his portfolio. He's like, listen, what do you want to do? Do you want to do an MFA? You want to do a BA? Do you want to do art studio? Do you want to do art history? I'm like, I kind of want to do the history side. I feel like I got the art side. I really want to do the history side. It sounds interesting. He's like, fantastic. You're going to love it. He goes, and this is when you could talk like this. And he goes, there's a side benefit. I said, do tell. And he said, most of your class, 90% of your class will be girls. I'm like, really? He goes, yeah. I'm like, I'm so going into this profession. This is easy, done. But of course, I didn't work history afterwards. Like, it doesn't really. Now we know, it doesn't really matter if you're going to get a degree in a lot of professions. Just get the thing, tick the box, and move on. So, what was the first thing you did out of college?
Yeah, so it's funny. So in my third year, I ended up, after I had that epiphany that I kind of sucked at like the thing that I thought I wanted to be, I actually picked up like an associate's degree in HR. I did an associate's program in HR. And that was like my contingency plan. I was like, oh God, like I just need something that's going to preclude me from, I got to have some skills in something, right? And so my first job out of college was actually at, for the first time ever, my parents were actually proud of me. I got it. They must have mixed up the names. I got like one of those coveted roles in Big Four accounting. So I got a job as an analyst at KPMG.
You didn't even have to tell them that you were in HR. You just said KPMG.
No, I wasn't in HR. I was in advisory services and protection. So I got really lucky. Like I'm pretty sure this is a byproduct. They mixed up the names.
Yes. Yeah.
And I ended up doing that for almost a year, and what's crazy about it is that I got to this point where it was exactly the same thing. I was like, I was looking around the room, and I'm like, okay, I'm never going to get promoted here because everyone here is wicked smart, and it just things come really naturally to them. And so that was probably one of the hardest decisions I made in my career, which is like, I'm gonna do me. Which, you know, when you are hard coded to like, hey, this is the journey that you're going to go down, and the rejection of that to be like, no, I can't do this. Like, I'm 1 year in. If you're telling me I have to do this for another 40 years, I think I might just jump out of the 42nd floor, right?
Yeah.
And so I ended up leaving, and I remember that was actually my pivot point into HR, and it was really funny. I remember, you know, and again, in the spirit of like things that are, you know, getting really lucky, you take a step back and you like think through like what limited tools do I have to be able to go and create value for another organization. And I was like, okay, time to go and pull out that reserve chute. The first one is like, not going to slow me down, I'm going to hit the ground, right?
First shoot didn't work. Okay.
and so my first foray into HR, and I remember sitting in, I applied to like a ton of jobs. Like I just anything and everything, and it's just like luck of the draw and who calls you back. And one of the people that called me back was this regional manufacturing company. It was like a pulp and paper company.
Yep.
And I remember sitting in the office of the HR director or like VP of HR, like the guy who ran the big kahuna that ran the program. And I remember psyching myself out. I'm like, just going to be like, I'm going to fake it till I make it. I'm going to tell them I know a whole bunch of stuff about HR. Obviously, in my resume, I have no experience, right?
Sure.
Like, and so I go in there. I've got my talk track. I got like cue cards and memorize and practice in front of the mirror. I'm like ready to go, right? Like the guy cuts me off midway through.
Yeah,
and
stop
he's just
doing
like,
that.
okay, listen. You're not sitting here because you know anything about HR, so let's just let that
Bro.
I'm just like, I'm going to get my bang, jacket on, like see myself out, like I'm like never going to make eye contact with anyone from that organization again. And what's crazy about it is that he was like, I actually don't care about that. I care about the fact that you actually have an element of like analytical modeling experience and HR, right?
Wow.
We operate like we have a lot of unionized facilities. 80% of our firm is unionized, and like it is a useful skill set to have on our collective bargaining team to be able to go and model out language adjustments as it relates to what it is that we are offering and like how to go and quantify that.
Right.
Wicked lucky. Practically speaking, I should have just bought lottery tickets.
No, that was a good decision. Leading up, you made the choice.
And your boss or the guy at the time, that was wicked smart. Because, kudos to him or her for making that or having that insight, because that's just smart to be able to go into that room with the negotiation, say, hey, listen, we've done the math, check it out, make sure that you see the same thing we do. Then you don't have irrational expectations on the union side where they come in and go, it's up here. It's like, actually, let's just look at the math. You can have the math too. Like that's brilliant. I mean, on their half.
But let's get to the real question here, John. How disappointed were you that you spent all that time preparing and he said, dude, just stop talking.
Yeah.
You got the job.
Yeah, no, trust me, it was really humbling, and I think that like that's one of the things that, you know, I'll tell you after you apply to a zillion jobs. So, just
want something.
Real humble, real fast.
It doesn't matter. I'll get coffee, whatever. I just want something.
And I think that it's that piece which like is actually a worthwhile process for people to struggle through. Like that cultivation of grit and just humbleness that comes out of like, you know, maybe I can create value, maybe I can, and like, you know, everyone tries hard, and that's just a cost of admission. Like, I think that that's really important. And so the long and short of it is that I join them. I get put into this weird position where I'm like getting to see way more about the HR program than any fledgling HR person should ever get. And so I ended up staying there for about 4 years. It was actually longer than I anticipated. I thought through it. I was like, I'm going to go to law school. I told them I was going to go to law school. They were like, oh, and again, in the spirit of getting wicked lucky, they were like, you know what? I happen to know that instant noodles are a core staple of your diet. If you're willing to stick around, we'd pay for an MBA. And so they actually, this was like at a simpler time. They paid for my MBA, a Canadian MBA, so don't worry, it was wicked cheap. And so I ended up getting my MBA there, but also getting my foothold into like a core amount of HR experience. And so that was, again, the one theme that you will see through here was wicked lucky. It was also the same moment that my parents did not understand what I did. And I'm now on the dark side of parental disappointment because like that point,
from approval and excitement to you're back to Jon.
Yeah, are you an engineer, lawyer, doctor? Are you one of those? If you're not, what are you doing? What are you doing with your life? What are you going to do with that? What are you doing?
The worst is at weddings when they're like, this is my son Matt. He's an accountant. And then they get to me and they're like, not sure what he does, but I think it's recruiting.
He does something with the job.
We're not sure. Anywho, our other son is really he's really successful. Great.
Right.
So what did you do after the MBA? What was the bid after the MBA?
So I got crazy lucky. I did a really quick stint in consulting for about a year.
Right. Yeah.
Because I think everyone after you do an MBA,
just a path.
You want to be like management consulting, blah blah blah.
It's either investment banking or consulting, one of the two. Pick one.
Yeah, totally. You drink enough Kool-Aid, you go and you do it, and like whatever.
Yeah.
So I got wicked lucky again. So like in the spirit of like if you want to get hit by lightning multiple times, apparently that I'm that guy. So this is like 2011, 2012. I get this call from this organization called Amazon. At the time, crazy. I'm like
small company. Most people don't know who they are.
Nobody. I'm still a nobody, right? I'm like, I don't know how they got my phone number. So I get this call from Amazon. They were starting up deployment into Canada. This is like a weird time at Amazon. They're not profitable.
Right.
Like, they're not market dominant. I actually didn't even know who Amazon was. I thought it was a subsidiary of eBay. My mindset at the time was, I'll come and talk to you because I've never been to Seattle, and that sounds like a free trip.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Oh, yeah. And Seattle's got great stuff there. So that makes sense.
Unbelievable. Anyways, I guess, again, they must have mixed up the names, so I get the job. So I moved from Toronto to Vancouver, and they tasked me with like, okay, figure out how to go and launch Amazon in Canada, right? And there, one of the things that happens with Canada, and maybe this will be true, maybe it won't be true, depending on whether or not we become the 51st state, is that people underestimate the complexity of operating internationally, even though it's only 150 miles north of Seattle.
Right.
Right. And so, for a portion of about 4 years, I supported the build out of Amazon from one facility to but by the time I had left, I think I had launched 70% of the Amazon facilities in Canada.
Wow. Okay, quick question. Non sequitur, the difference between Vancouver and Toronto from your perspective.
Vancouver is like the chill version of Toronto. Yeah. Like the only problem with Vancouver is that it's kind of like Aspen. Like nobody actually has a real job there. Either you've made it and you move to Vancouver, or you work for people who have made it. And there's no real career.
Cost of living is crazy high.
So fun sequitur on that. There was this one point where when I moved there, I was like, oh, I should go and buy a house. And I was like, I don't know how long I'm going to be here for. I could have earned as much as I earned at Amazon, inclusive of RSUs, had I just bought that house and did nothing else for the period of 4 years. So in 100%. The game of snakes and ladders, I rolled through all of the steps of it, but should have just caught that one freaking ladder and got across the lines. Yeah, that was wild. So I did that with Amazon. Probably, I think everyone has like a come-up story. I got lucky. I got 2 solid come-up stories. At the time, my wife was doing a postdoc. We were still eating a lot of instant noodles. It was like, we got to go get a job, like a real job.
But she got one of the jobs that's supposed to be gotten. So she was on the path.
Yeah, so you could, yeah.
So at least you could point to her and say, "Oh, my wife's a doctor. Yeah, we're good."
Not a useful doctor. She's a biochemist. So that's like So
Sounds smart, so that's good.
no, I mean, you can explain that. That sounds like something you can quote about, right? Whereas
right.
I just do recruiting. So
You don't even need to explain that. My wife's a biochemist. Oh shit. You know.
Yeah. Legit.
Yeah. What do you do? I'm a recruiter.
It
That's all I
doesn't
do.
matter. I'm staying home with the kids. Yeah, that's what I do.
but that's my target job. So we moved to the US in 2016. Kind of continue the Amazon story. There was like a lot of build out that was taking place in the Northeast. I was lucky enough to get some really large facilities. So like, I think the largest one I had was like 5,500 people, like a small town of like just employees.
Wow.
And it taught me a lot about operating at scale, the value of standard work, scalability, and like really operating within like a big tech environment. I did some work within analytics, which was really nice. So like labor modeling for like hundreds of thousands of people, which is like crazy when you really start to think about what that means from a scaling standpoint. Again, I got really lucky to be able to go and get moved down to the US. We've been down here since. And then one of the things that I learned towards the end of my time at Amazon is that I think that the things that made me most excited about Amazon in 2011 started to give way to like, you know, they were big and mature and like really focused on scaling. And, you know, there's a moment of introspection of like, how much do I actually enjoy what fills up my day? And I realized that like I am inherently like an earlier stage person. I like building and thinking and breaking things and like, you know, to the point of like some of the conversations we had about like building like furniture and stuff. Like, I like putting stuff together, even if it's a bit janky. And so I ended up electing to leave Amazon in 2019. And then COVID hit and Amazon stock price went up to $1 zillion. So like, probably wouldn't be having this conversation if we just held on to my RSUs. But I had a chance to join like a fintech firm. I pivoted back into that this time investment thesis of where I play best, which is like Series C, D, E, and exit into IPO. And that's just that opportunity to be able to actually build stuff versus, and I think that there's like a mindset element of either you're a builder or you're a janitor, right? And I would like hate janitorial work. I hate the idea of just like every day's Groundhog Day, and I was just like, give me some DeWalt tools and let me go and build some janky stuff. And like,
when does that happen for you though? So in these roles, when did that start to happen? Is it the amount of time, something changes in the workforce, or you've gotten to a level of build and you're just like, all right, my job's done, you get bored and you move on?
Monotony.
It
becomes the same.
I think that at Amazon, it creeps up on you, right? Like suddenly, you know, the idea of being able to operate, you know, you become, in large organizations, there's a tendency to become narrow and deep, right? And, you know, suddenly, it creeps up on you. Like, whereas, you know, when I first joined in 2011, 2012, I was literally a janitor. Like, I would push the broom around the place and like tidy stuff up and like, you know, whatever needed to be done, I would go and do. Towards, you know, you have like a scaled team. There's like 40 people on your team, and you are now just like air traffic control for like just landing airplanes. And every day is another day at JFK, and you're going to land 190 airplanes during your 8-hour shift, right? And like, that's the process of like, you know, again, it sneaks up on you because first it's like you got to land airplanes, but then your job becomes narrow and deep where all you do is you talk to pilots and you land airplanes. And so I don't know. It's funny. So for the last couple of years, I've been operating within the fintech space. I joined a company called Revolut. I joined them quite early on. I think when I joined them, they were at like a $550 million valuation. It was just a bunch of like vest-wearing tech bros trying to like rewrite the invisible rules of money in New York. And so spent about 2.5 years there. That was really cool because, again, in the spirit of getting lucky, that company took off. They did really well in Europe. So when I joined them, they were just entering into Series C. They did a raise at 1.7 billion, 5.5, and then they did this massive leap to like $30 billion. Their last raise was like $45 billion. And so, like, again, that journey of like build really fast to be able to facilitate scaling is just inherently very interesting. I was then, I got pulled to a broker dealer. Think Robinhood, but for Europe. The name of the company was eToro. And the thesis there was like, get us mature so we can SPAC. And then the SPAC market blew up, and so you got to use a slightly different skill set of like, oh my God, how do you keep the lights on, the doors open? So did that for a couple of years, and then a couple of years after that, I got to DailyPay, and again, I think that DailyPay is probably smack dab in the middle of that standard thesis of when I joined about a year and a half ago, we were still lots of stuff was breaking, and we were still trying to figure a bunch of stuff out, but like very focused on like, hey, by the way, like whip out your Sawzall and like let's go and like build some janky shit.
Right.
That's work.
Yeah. Well, again, it's this idea of being able to go and build and to move the needle and have like something that's tangible. Is it like world class? Maybe not, but it is like there was no table there. Now there is a janky table there, but at least something that we can start to iterate on. And I find that so rewarding and so engaging as it relates to actually having to think through something versus like, hey, by the way, like we need a table, so like get your pickup truck, we're going to IKEA, and then you have to follow the stick men to try to put it together. Like, hate that.
No, I fail there every time. Mm-hmm. Last question for me is, what are the type of personalities or people that thrive around you? What do you need around you?
It's funny. I was actually talking to one of my colleagues about it recently, and she was like, I think you want X, but practically speaking, you really need something else. So, I think. So I'll put a caveat on this, which is that there's a very real possibility I'm wrong. So I think the people that thrive around me are outside of the box thinkers that are inherently gritty and focused on moving the needle.
Right.
And
are they starters? Are they self-starters?
Self-starters.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I think that I've realized, and this is again one of the reasons, the statement on why I'm putting an asterisk on this, and is that I also think that you can have too much of that. Right. And suddenly you just have this hodgepodge, like fruit salad of like just things that die in the backyard graveyard of unfinished projects, right? And so more and more I realize that there's a balance that needs to be hit, because if you have too many dreamers, nothing gets done. And so I will say that like it's one of the things that I'm working on myself, on like having a deeper appreciation for the fact that again that it takes a whole bunch of skill sets, and there is merit within a lot of those skill sets beyond the things that I view as being core.
That's cool.
Core to who I am. So
yeah. John, last question from me outside of your background is about people.
Yeah.
I've been studying and reading a lot on where people thrive and where they don't thrive.
Sure.
So I want to get your perception as a chief people officer, where do most people fail?
Where do most people fail? Say more. I feel like people fail a lot everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Where do they let themselves down in the process of growth from college through the journey of a career that maybe has no direction, right? And they feel lost. But where do they fail in not making a pivot or not continuing on? What's your view on that? Yeah.
I think that every day is a grind. Like, don't get me wrong, I wake up most days and I'm excited about the day, but man, there are days where it's a grind. And I think that it's life in a career can be death by 1,000 paper cuts. And so the timing on that question is actually very apropos. It's January 15th. This is like a really good opportunity to take, I think that people don't do enough retrospectives, like really sober retrospectives where you take a good hard look at like what you've gotten done in the last year. you give it a rating from 1 to 5. You give yourself a performance like a silver, like you sit down with some Jack Daniels and you just like you have like a silver conversation with you, right? One performance improvement plan, right? There's a secondary piece to it, which is that I think that the question then becomes, how do you become more deliberate about what you do in the following year?
Intentionality.
Right?
Yeah.
Intentionality is like one of those things that, like, to engage in intentionality, you have to be intentional, right? It's like,
Right.
Which
it doesn't come from nowhere.
The egg, right? But again, I think that element of retrospective, really sober look at like what did it, like based off of what I want to get done, did I get it done? And then being really deliberate. And when I say deliberate, it's like really being clear in your own mind on what it is that you want to go and pursue, right?
Right.
And then making...
You might change once you get to that place. You might get to that place and go, okay, yeah, let me do this other thing. That's fine.
Oh, heck yeah. I mean, and that was my experience. I got into KPMG, like top tier accounting firm. I thought that's what I wanted. Freaking hated my life.
Yeah.
Like, no offense to KPMG. There's
no.
There,
great
right?
people.
But
great people.
Again, that element that, what it is that you want and the iteration and synthesis of who a person is and what it is that they value, it changes over time. And so, again, I think that the one thing that keeps people from getting stuck is one, internal accountability, which is like, again, taking a retrospective, not of like yesterday or last week, but like in a meaningful time frame, and then really being deliberate about like what you want to go and tackle, and making sure that wherever you are, you're paying yourself first, and you're making sure that there's enough reciprocal value being created by that organization to be able to go and make it worth your while, or that pursuit that you are on to make it worth your while.
Drops mic, walks off stage. Jon, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks for coming on the show. I know the audience is going to love it. And also for the audience, thanks for listening. Until next time.